Peace and blessings.
All right, welcome back to our channel. This is the Rahotep Relationship podcast channel. We're going to figure that out. But I'm Coach Rahotep, Mr. Rahotep, King Rahotep, however you may please. And this is...
I'm Queen Asali, Miss Rahotep.
All right, my beautiful wife. So it's mainly about her today. No, I'm just kidding. As it is every day. No. But
no, it ain't. No, just
so what our topic is today, as you probably see in the title of some variation, this is our marriage plan. So this is the Rahotep marriage plan. We're now just beginning our marriage. So to see how 33 years from now. Yeah. So to imagine 33 years down the line, what are some pitfalls we can try to avoid? And because everybody thinks their marriage is perfect, so we like to be preventative. So what can we do right now to start avoiding obstacles, and what can we set in place to handle any obstacles that come up later down the line? So
right.
That's pretty much the perspective we're going to look at this from. We are going to discuss some ideas that might help you if you're in a relationship or looking to be in a relationship, on how to plan out a success strategy for your relationship. The basis of our relationship has always been open communication. If you want to go into that first.
Oh, well, it's okay because you got the flow going.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna just feedback.
It's all good. It's all good.
You got the list here. No.
Right. It's all good. We work together on this a lot. So this is just putting it in structured form. So we're gonna communicate openly. We're gonna make sure that we are on the same team. So I look at relationships as the highest form of collaborative cooperation between two people. And in order to understand how to collaborate between two people, we have to assess and look at other situations where humans are forced to collaborate, or humans work to collaborate on a higher goal, and that's usually a sports team or a business. And businesses have meetings, teams have practices where everybody come in and watch film and everything, where everybody gets on the same page. So if we want our relationship, our collaborative partnership, we're working together as two humans, essentially. If we want them to be successful, we have to look at other situations that are successful, and teams and businesses are successful people working together, and they have meetings in place. So they have monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, all these type of meetings to make sure everybody's getting on the same page. There's also criterias on what's expected from your work. What is it? Your workplace duties or anything like that. What do you get in the beginning? What is that called? Like work description, job description.
Job description.
Right,
it is a job description.
Job description.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What duties are expected of you? So that's kind of like ideas that we go over, and this is something similar to that for us. It's like, here's some criteria that we should be following. These are some guidelines for our marriage, so that if we're ever faltering, we can come back basically to the bylaws of our marriage and say, like, hey, here's something that we both agreed on. What needs to be adjusted? What needs to be changed? Is it, or do you not agree with this stuff anymore? Or what do we need to transition from here? Or and just being open and honest in the beginning helps us get on that same page, so that way everything's out on the table. We both should be disclosing everything we need, everything we foresee ourselves needing later down the line, so that we can kind of come together and agree on what should be the rules for our marriage, or what should be the strategy for our marriage to last successfully. In our open communication, we make sure to ask clarifying questions of each other.
What do you mean by that?
We make sure to ask questions to understand, as opposed to asking questions to belittle each other. So
right.
I know I need work with that.
And that's also actively listening when you're asking clarifying questions. So things that I need to work on is not like listening to respond, but actually listening. And I do try to make sure I'm understanding. Like, I really want to understand what you're saying, how you feel, how you're thinking. Because if you really actively listen and you listen to understand, then you kind of get outside of your own emotions, because you actually understand where they're coming from. So, yeah.
Right. active listening is definitely something to continue to improve at, because I know I space out and stuff like that. So I'm gonna make sure to continue to improve on that. So that's the only thing you can do. It understanding your weaknesses and understanding your flaws in communication, and just being open about them too, because we both are saying how we need to actively listen more, and that's fair. So I can't really, we don't plan on attacking each other for any of our weaknesses, but it's disclosed. That's another thing too with relationships that we see is, on TV, is people attacking each other's weaknesses once they're disclosed. So.
Exactly. You get vulnerable and then it's attacked. So then you don't want to open up again.
Exactly. And you literally don't want to open up again. So if you tell somebody your weakness and they hit you with it, it's like, oh yeah, I'm climbing up. This is more of an opposition as opposed to my teammate who's going to encourage me, through my weaknesses and stuff. So make sure to do that. Make sure we don't belittle each other's mistakes. Also, we're gonna trust each other's judgment. I think this is something I'm learning to do more, just because I like to make my own decisions. I feel like you're similar on wanting to make your own decision, but since we're kind of studying each other and rooting and working towards each other's success, it's like going to be easier to trust that the other person knows what you need and is going to execute on that. And we have to work on getting closer to that trust, because there's things that you want and there's things that I want in certain situations where we make decisions together. Like when we're doing something that involves money, Babe wants to make sure all the rules are read, all the contract is read all the way through. Just like other people who click the Apple thing and disagree, I'm pretty much that person too, but I'm learning from Babe to read the contracts more and kind of just see what I'm getting into more. Just barely. Now I skim it instead of just not watching. No, what's
I'm
the
a big
header
reader.
say?
Anything that got to do with money or even signing period. If money and from house buying all the way down to just a tiny signature. Remember when we got the small check?
Right, small check.
Getting the small check, I was reading it. He's like, you just sign right there. I'm like, nah, I'm reading this. I'm signing. I don't know what I'm signing.
Reading the receipts at a restaurant. It's like,
and that's the truth, though. They would charge you more.
I guess. Yeah. So I'm learning from that. So that helps us balance each other out, because sometimes I could, babe, come on, you can relax on this idea, and then she's helping me be more strict on some ideas, so balance each other out. So yeah, another thing that I've learned from my wife is not trying to be right. So a lot of times we have communications and I say, oh, well, you're right, or I'm right about this. And even I've watched a clip recently of Kanye West talking about it. And of course, he's got his own ideas, of course, but he's like, there's not really being right. It's just being, like, expressing yourself, being who you are.
Right.
And some rightness comes from that, essentially, is what I picked up from it. And that helps me, my wife's perspective, and just hearing that idea of not being right, it allows me to kind of relax more and not beat myself up, not try to be a perfectionist, because if I'm not trying to be right, I'm just trying to make the most logical choice for the team. So just what's the most logical choice for the team. So like, dang, she was right on this. Oh, dang, he was right on this. It's not a competition in that regard. And
then also when it comes to any disagreements, if one person is trying to be so right, or one person is trying to say someone's so wrong, it's like you get stuck in this right or wrong, and you're really not actively listening to understand. Like, that person might be, one, we're talking about relationships, but this also helps with any communication as well. But the wife may have a certain background, a certain upbringing, and then the husband may have a totally different background and upbringing. So if you're sitting here in any disagreement or anything that you're trying to understand, I'm right, I'm wrong, you're right, you're wrong, like, let's understand each other, let's back up and understand why this works for you and why this works for you, and how can we come and meet in the middle on that. And now that we have a better understanding, then we can move forward with our open communication and getting along. So
right, that's something that I'm glad you had the perspective of, because being on the same team falls into that category as well as not competing on who's right and wrong, because you guys are making a thing together. So it's like, I'm always right, I'm always winning, essentially, is what the idea is. So I had that perspective because I'm always trying to be right in my regard, but now I'm really relaxing on that idea of being right and just picking a logical step. So also just relaxing it in all areas of life, just relaxing on being right and just being logical and just choosing the best decision that works for the team.
Right. What works for you?
Right.
Exactly.
And myself. Yeah. Individually.
And what works for the team too.
Right.
Yes, talking as like, this is, even though we always talk as a unit, but talking, I'm also thinking about like other communication with other people too.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thinking like, well, what's right for me? What works for me? It's not about being right. I have to live with this decision,
That's true.
So does this work for me based off of what I'm going through, or what, so this is what works for me. I'm not worried about, you of course you want to be, considerate and all of those other things too. But at the end of the day, you got to deal with yourself. And then at the end of the day, you got to deal with your unit, your, relationships, and what's right for the marriage,
And another idea we have to make our marriage last is to continue to be best friends, cheer for each other's success, and let each other be the first to know when there's an issue. So not taking it to somebody else and basically bad mouthing each other and getting the energy from them, like, yeah, you should leave or anything. We seen this post recently about not telling your family about your husband's mistakes or your husband's wrongdoings in that regard, because if you guys make up, the family's still not going to be happy with your husband or your significant other.
Right.
They're going to be frustrated because they felt like they treated you wrong, but you guys might have an understanding and where you messed up, because most of the time you don't tell them where you messed up. So it's like you guys might have an understanding between you guys, so you have to get to an understanding first before trying to get people on your team to be mad at your partner. It's like that's you're kind of going to elicit that, and then when when
y'all make up,
right, your family doesn't know about it at all, and then they see them and they're like, man, what are you doing? So we don't run into those situations, but we still want to make sure to be mindful of them, because further down the line, when you have to make tougher decisions or tougher things come up, you still don't want to get in those positions where you're making your teammate look bad, essentially. So you don't want to throw each other under the bus. Also,
yeah, and just period. You just don't want to, like, you're big on not gossiping.
Right.
And us as women, we, in general, a lot of women gossip a lot, Right. So I've gotten better and better about that over the years. Right. And at the end of the day, you do great with, like, so what is the purpose of stating this right now? Like, what is the desired outcome for you stating this? And then you also do great with helping me with, like, okay, what are you saying right now, where if that person was listening right now, what are you saying right now that would they be okay with hearing what you said?
Right.
So just always speaking with a purpose, as much as possible. And a lot of times telling anything that's going on in your marriage to anybody else really isn't necessary.
Right.
I've also heard people say have maybe one, person that you can confide in outside of, and you preferably same sex. Like, we don't do that. Right. Other sex best friends and all that. That's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But I have sisters, so my sister, and so things like that. But
yeah,
even then, it's still limited information.
Right. Yeah, and I just don't really talk too much about our relationship. I guess that's the other thing too, is just to keep in mind is, like, when things are going well, how are you behaving? And then when things are going negatively, how are you behaving? One of my friends, that was one of my groomsmen, ACAT, we were shooting basketball, and he told me, like, his dad doesn't his when I make a shot, if I'm acting regular, if I miss it, I should act regular too. It's like I shouldn't be reacting to shots I missed if I'm not going to react to the shots I made. So it's like so how did I tie that in? Sorry. So since I'm not really disclosing anything, times are going well with my wife. If they were going negatively, I wouldn't disclose it. I would talk with her first and then figure it out. So yeah.
I'm just a talkative person anyway, so people know when things is going great. So
right.
So I mean, but yeah.
Hey, so she.
But no, but still, not gonna talk about anything personal or anything like yeah.
Right. Okay. So the next thing. So since we know that infidelity and finances are the biggest, two reasons for divorce. So it's like if we know that going into marriage that, hey, infidelity and finances are the two biggest things. The financial piece is a little bit easier for us because I don't gamble or anything like that. Neither one of us gamble or make any large decisions that are just like kind of pointless. We talk to each other about large purchases, so that's what we're going to continue to do. Large purchases.
We generally live below our means.
Continue to live frugally, and then just looking out for each other's best interests when it comes to decision making on money. Like if it's not in our best interest to purchase a vehicle at a certain time, we're going to discuss all the pros and cons of it, and then move that decision down the line to where it's like, all right, now we got kids, we need a bigger vehicle. All right, that's a decision. We weigh the pros and cons, and then make a purchase based on our budget and everything involved, everything that we've come to the table and brought to the table.
And we're both big planners, and so it flows for us, but it is still definitely advisable for pretty much anybody when it comes to finances. You want to map that out. You got me on that.
Right.
Big time. In the beginning of our relationship, I had to relinquish any ideas of like not wanting to be open about how much student loans I have. I had, good credit score, but my student loans, I was the one that had definitely the most debt from the college, that I went to. So, just being open to him, and that's another topic, open communication and being vulnerable. So that goes back to that, but that also helped him to show his strength and show me like, hey, well, this is how we can lower your student loan. Look how much your interest is. Do you really know what that is in 10 years? Like, let's really map this out, and you got me set up on the flow chart, or what is that called?
That was unburyme.com.
Well, unburyme.com helped me. It showed how much I would be in debt, or how much money I was really spending in years from now. And then if I put just an extra $100 a month, it showed the difference. If I put $200, like, it really makes a difference. But then you also put me on a flow chart as well.
You mean the Excel sheet?
Yeah, the Excel. Right. So the Excel sheet broke down how much money I was making and how much my monthly expenses were and things like that. But that's advisable for pretty much anybody, and especially when you come together in a marriage, a relationship, then you should really go over those things, because like you said, if you don't plan, you plan to fail, basically.
Right.
So if we know finances is a huge problem and that can break up a lot of marriages, then you really got to be on top of that.
Right. Definitely gotta, just make sure you go over finances, and this is this definitely can be elaborated further, but really vetting out your situation early. We're big on planning early, so we vetted. We spent years together beforehand. We talked a lot in the beginning of our relationship. We set rules in place. We did a lot of things that matched for us. So everybody doesn't have to do that. Everybody may not be planners like that, but you have to have some way of telling that you're going to be able to adjust in a favorable manner for your relationship. So we're working on our partnership so much that if something comes up, we're going to just we have the communication base to come back and talk about it. So that's like the biggest thing to me. How well do you guys communicate? How well do we communicate when something's going on? Good or bad, how well can we communicate all the ideas that we have about it? Open for each other to discuss. We're hearing each other out and not trying to belittle or attack each other while we're conversing. We're just
constructive.
Very, very constructive. If we disagree, it's constructive. If we agree, we're still trying to articulate and understand even why we agree, just so there's more understanding in our decision making. So we both understand how each other makes decisions, and we can actually represent each other well when we go out into the world. So it's like, I know she wants a contract read, so if it's a purchase we make together, then I'll just, take my time, skim over the contract, say, hey, I saw this, that might be weird, but I'm pretty sure somebody else has went and sued them if it wasn't. but yeah, it's all good. So yeah, definitely keeping that open communication is going to be key for anything. So if you have great open communication,
always goes back to that's what we find all the time. So coming into relationship, marriage, well, what are your financial goals? Before you were together, and what are your financial goals as a team while you're married? When we got together, I wanted to buy a house before I turned 30. And so that was a goal of mine, and that was something that we had to talk about, because with all the student loan debt that I had, he had the knowledge of, well, is that really the best decision right now? So we really had long conversations about if that was a good decision, and I was open to communicating. I wasn't like, well, it's just my decision, ultimately, yeah, that it is, but we still had constructive communication about, if this was a smart decision to do. And so that was a huge financial goal for me. So just talking about those things, and then what are the financial goals in, the relationship? Because that, things that like that can make and break people. Like, I don't want you to buy no house right now. Are you crazy? You got all this debt and no, talking it out. And did you have any insight on that? Like, from your perspective of like me already having that goal before we got together, how you worked through, those type of ideas too, or?
Well, yeah, I think the overall idea of, marriage is supporting each other's goals at the same time. So if we have two opposing goals at that time, my goal was more so to live frugal. Like, I kind of imagine myself making a lot of money, but like living very frugally. But of course, that's only achievable single, because I didn't see myself with like a family, big family. Just in a small tiny home. It'll be cool, but that'd be like kind of just far, like it'd be kind of forcing it to me, like, or it'd be difficult to get the kids on board. Of course, if they're raised in that environment, it's like, it'll be cool, but it's like maybe doing too much, even for my own personality. It's like, I'm not strict enough to make that idea work, and then that might not be fun for anybody. I mean, for everybody involved. But
so yeah, he was on that minimalist, type of lifestyle, type of idea, or just stacking, or just the snowball.
Right.
Baby steps.
So Dave Ramsey. Baby steps.
Yeah,
that's
which was cool, and I took from some of that, but then I also had some of my goals, and I took from what some of my goals were. So, and we still worked it out. It's working out great. So.
Right. Definitely. So yeah, just leading in the idea of communication. I always wanted to be a type of leader that would support my wife's decisions, and then ultimately the way I look at our marriage is happy wife, happy life, cliches. But it's like I
for the record, I don't even care about all that stuff. We a team. A team. It's as equal as possible for us.
Right.
But yeah, I think my things to make it work for us, and you think your things to make it work for us. So.
Right. So yeah. So since my wife is very technical at that phrase, happy wife, happy life, it just hits her like, no, you happy too, happy husband.
Right. So. Well, people be thinking that too. People think that,
right.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's yeah, I appreciate. That's why I appreciate my wife, and that's why it's easy for me to be in that position of happy wife, happy life, because I know she's gonna handle her side of me being happy. So, and we're much more simple. Like I'm already like more simple to please. So it's like, and you're very simple to please too. I'm definitely glad I don't have a wife that's not frugal essentially. So, but yeah. So yeah, that's that portion.
Yeah, I think I got my ideas out on that.
So yeah, we're gonna go into the infidelity piece. So since we know infidelity is a high divorce issue, as opposed to just looking at our marriage like we just not gonna get divorced. Like, yeah, we just love each other so much. Like, yeah, those things count, but there are practical things that happen that if you don't plan and like have a strategy for avoiding or have a strategy for, getting to be defeating it basically, then you will be met by it and then have to face it then, or you may just succumb to it, unfortunately, because you didn't plan for it. So of course, nobody's perfect. I think that the only way, I can be able to execute on this plan is to revisit it often, what things are in place. So that's my plan to avoid infidelity, and having an open communication with my wife has been pivotal and key in that. Like, hey, can I talk to you about just the X's and O's of what I'm thinking in this situation? That's been super helpful for me. But yeah, so if I think about another woman in some type of way, I've been able to talk with her through that. And of course, I'm mindful not to just every day have a new woman that I'm talking to her about or something. I'm able to just,
You don't even really it's more so seeing something or seeing attractive things like that. It's not like any personal woman that you talk to.
Whole different conversation too. It can go on for hours and hours on, those temptations. But yeah, so the idea of infidelity being a, cause of divorce is like, we gotta address that. And how do we go about that? How are we understanding of each other's needs? Are we an open door for each other to come to before the needs even, before anything is needed, or any urges, or, what I'm saying? Like, any urges are there, you can come talk to me about early in the beginning of like, hey, I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling like this need is not being met in this regard. So what can we do about that together?
Back to communication.
Before we feel like we got to pull off and just go forcefully do it somewhere else, or, just if your partner's not listening to you, you just got to step out and take action on your own to get whatever idea you want out.
Yeah, I think, just always being conscious of like, you're not perfect. So try not to get yourself in situations, like you said. I think people feel like they're like, I forget the word for it, but invincible to like ever cheating. When we both see each other as not perfect, as humans, and we talk to each other about anything. And so basically, so like you said, like when you go in it knowing you're not perfect and knowing that that it happens, obviously it happens with other people. So how can we prevent it from happening with us? And so a huge thing for myself is just not allowing myself to get in certain situations. So, not allowing myself to start any type of flirtation relationships or start any type of connection with other people. I think a lot of people dib and dab with that, like, oh, I got a work husband. Like, what is the point of that? To me, that's just getting too close to any type of those type of situations. So if you see through that and it's like, there's no point, your best friend should be your significant other at the end of the day. You should be wanting to get closer and understand your significant other more and more. So that's really should be your best friend. And so, but yeah, basically avoidance is huge. You do avoidance, great, and we've talked about it in other videos. And then just also knowing the commitment that you have and reminding yourself of those things. Just saying that is not enough. Like you said, going back and actively thinking about you know, the love that you have and what you have, basically what helps you to not want to cheat or anything like that. Just actively revisiting those ideas. Like, if I do this, I will lose my family, or if I do this, will I ever, like you mentioned, a lot of times, like, come on now, we have such a strong connection. Will you ever have this connection with someone else? Like, you know. So.
Right, definitely. So definitely when it comes to infidelity, my thought process in any situation would be, what is the risk versus the reward, you know? And we're definitely fooled as men by society. We're definitely just fooled by shapes. So I feel like it's a slap in the face, and also it insults our intelligence to say, well, you guys just like the shape of butts and breasts, so I'll just stuff anything in there, and there you go, the shape that you want. You know, here you go. So definitely, you know, appreciate my wife for the inner work she does in her personality, and you know, and being natural as well. No offense to anybody else if you've already made those decisions, but yeah, I'm not gonna be distracted. I'm not gonna allow myself to be distracted by shapes and images, essentially. So, but yeah, so that's the approach for infidelity for me, and also just having different outlets of channeling your energy in a different way.
Exactly.
Communicating. Hey, babe, this is going on. How can we solve this? I feel like I need more of this. I feel like with the kids coming, you haven't expressed your concern for this need of mine. Both ways, you know. If
express this concern, I like that. For this need of mine.
Right, yeah, express your concern.
I like that.
Right, it's just like just showing each other that you still care about the things that are important to them. So touch, babe, if I, you know, just all the things that show consideration in a relationship, just keeping those going. That's the main thing, and treating it like you're single or your honeymoon phase for as long as possible is going to be important. Like, so that was the thing that I was saying here. Consider each other's needs and be the best version of ourselves. I think that's important too. Just continuing to grow, like not getting complacent. All right, I got my wife, I'm not even trying to get better anymore. It'll be all right. And you'll regress. You literally, you gain weight. You fall off. You become less organized, and if you throw in the towel, you just don't have the opportunity to become the best version of yourself for each other. So I also think about being the best, the type of spouse each other wants, which is, luckily we vet each other out and see what each other wants. Is that conducive for me? Can I do that? Can I be the type of person that I think she wants based on everything she's telling me?
Reciprocation.
And can she be the type of wife that I want based on the things that she knows that I want? So, you know, and you know, there's compromise in there. There's like, I mean, we're probably not going to be the exact perfect, but we'll push close to that 100% perfect husband and wife for each other. But, you know, of course, we're very close to that now.
Exactly. So when you're working on being the best version of yourself,
keep getting better.
And you know, he's working on being the best version of himself. We come together, and we're a better team.
Definitely,
at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Always self-reflection, always improving.
Right. Definitely. So yeah, and then like we touched on before in the beginning, having those weekly meetings and blocking out time to cultivate our union. So just blocking out time to just focus on us, like, you know, phones and everything are a distraction. Take out time to invest in each other's happiness, essentially. Going on dates, lunch dates, and then like recently I shifted my mindset to treating our errands like dates as well, because there's something to be enjoyed in life of just going to buy stuff and going to grocery shop.
During the life of COVID and pandemics, errands. So COVID and pandemics and the being in your 30s, going on errands is like a date when you.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean,
but we do enjoy that time together, and we still stop and get lunch, or stop to get some vegan snacks and stuff like that.
You gotta think about the fact that you can't take anything for granted, because if something were to happen and you're shopping by myself, or you shopping by yourself down the line, you're like, oh, I miss when we used to shop together. So you can't take it for granted while you're doing it right now. You gotta really enjoy it, and like, hey, it's special to us. All right, we shopping. I'm going to do this. She doing that. It's all opportunities to work on the team and the partnership, and just continue to grow. Just get better with each other. Like, oh, I know we want to get this when we're shopping. Oh, you got this side, I got this side. We know all the groceries.
Yeah, we team up on shopping now. So, grocery shopping now.
Right, and I had to grow my mindset, because I was like, I don't even want to go shopping. It's just whatever. If I go, I'm gonna just run through and forget stuff, and so we balance each other out, because I have the speed of shopping, and then she has the, all right, make sure we got this.
The tech, like that. What is it? Very thorough, but I take longer.
So yeah, just.
I was gonna mention weekly blog. Oh yeah, I like how we really try to stick to it. So we're not perfect with it. There's things that happen in our schedules, but I really take it serious with marking it in my calendar. Right. Like, this is the meeting day. Not everybody is that structured. Some people, they don't like doing, that type of structure, whatever works for your relationship. But it is important to just really have that time for each other. And for us, we're structured people, so we literally map it out. Like, of course, we have time for each other, but we mean like undivided attention, phones off, whether we plan out a date, like he said, or we plan out meeting times to just talk about literally what's on our mind, what are we thinking, what are our goals, because we're changing human beings. Right, we're always evolving. Right. So I love how you always ask me, what are you thinking? Like, those are important questions. Like, what are you thinking? Because literally what I could have been thinking yesterday could be different than what I'm thinking now. My mind could have changed. I could have gotten new ideas about certain things, new aspirations about certain things. And it's important to keep in touch with each other. Right. And that sounds really weird for a married couple that live together, but that's true. Like, keep in touch with what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and new goals, new aspirations, and things like that is just so important. So we literally map out like Fridays. Let's have a meeting. The Rahotep meeting.
Right. And definitely, I appreciate your structure on that, because that's how important I want it to be taken. Like, hey, we meet, and then when we have children, this is the family meeting. And we'll still have our individual meetings, or we just go on a day to meet, so that they're getting babysat or whatever needs to happen, and we're still working on our union. So these are, our plans. So, and then we're just gonna always address the elephants in the room. So infidelity, all those stuff, like, hey, how are we doing on, just how are we doing? The small check-ins are good enough to possibly avoid just asking straight out, like, hey, do you want to cheat on me today? Now, but yeah, just constantly checking in with each other, because
you want to cheat on me,
right? Like, hey, how are you doing? You want to cheat today? Good. No.
Like he said, if somebody else sees someone attractive, being able to talk about that and talk those thoughts out. That's
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Vice versa.
Literally, like, yeah. So, like, even more disclosure of that is, like, I compete with myself on, like, not being stuck on watching other girls behind and stuff like that. And it's a challenge, because of, like, TikTok. That's like the main source of income that's the main source of attention for certain individuals. So it's like, it just pops up on your page. So you have to not interested in it, or you have to do something to get yourself away from that content.
People dancing, shaking their butt, basically.
Right. Right. They literally just show it, because they know that, hey, this is an attention grabber. So this is the hook of my video. No, So yeah, I can openly discuss those ideas with her, and that helps me. If this information helps anybody else, it's just sometimes getting the thoughts out of your head makes them less dangerous, because while they're boiling up in your head, you're imagining them worse and worse. Like, dang, if my wife finds out, what's gonna happen? and then you're just sitting with that more and more, and then it's like, I don't know what that energy does to make you just do it. And now definitely she found out, like, I don't know, like, it's just how our brains work with that stuff. The more taboo the situation, it's like the less we can handle it. So if we can discuss openly and both be fair and realistic about all the things that happen, if we can be fair that, hey, sometimes the dude's gonna see another butt, and you know, it's just up to y'all to communicate, like, oh, it's okay, like, dang, okay, well, shoot, I mean, if it's okay, I don't even care about it no more. Like, it's just crazy how we work.
Butt, just look at it. I don't care. But my main thing is, no, but I appreciate the avoiding all the what is it, semi-pornography, what do they call that? But they call it soft porn or all that. That's literally what it is. It's soft porn on these social media. So I really appreciate that, because that goes back to the avoidance. Is like a lot of times people start with that and they think it's harmless, and then then they get obsessed with it, and then it starts, like you mentioned, if it's from viewing it, then that's not enough. Then you want to touch, and then you want to find, and then you want to go, and then you want to step out on your whole relationship. So I appreciate that.
Essentially, Instagram content and softcore, the stuff that's okay for TikTok to show, that's gateway drugs into people actually going to watch porn. It's literally sometimes people put information that leads them directly from that TikTok or Instagram straight to a porn, because there's a link, or there's somebody like, hey, I have the link, this is a girl that's from the site or whatever. So you have all those type of things.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I just also wanted to mention, when it comes to the open communication, from my point of view, I appreciate that he avoids all of those things, but then also I'm open too. I'm like, okay, that's life. That's, you know, even if you're walking in the store and you see somebody's butt, like a big butt or something like that, that's we're human. You're gonna look. I might even look and be like, oh, I need to get my shape together, you know? Okay, let me get in the gym, you know? So, I mean, I know that's natural, but I appreciate that he avoids it, because what I don't like is just, you know, staring hard. And I mean, you could be with your significant other and just, some men don't realize that it gets that bad, that they're literally making their significant other feel so uncomfortable. It's just like, well, I'm here with you. Why are you staring so hard at another woman? And you're giving someone else that energy, you know, and I'm your wife. Why are you giving her that energy? Why does she's picking up on the fact that you're looking at her. So now okay, but I'm your wife standing next to you, you know? So you definitely don't want to make your wife feel uncomfortable. I would hope not, but I appreciate that, because I'm happy that it does not get to that point at all. And I even avoid second looks with anybody that I see is attractive, because why would I want to put out that energy? It's, to some people, it's harmless. But we are big on avoiding. We want to avoid as much as possible 33 years from now. So imagine 33 years from now, it was just a harmless look. I can look at her, I'm just staring at her. That starts from harmless look to harmless flirt to let's meet for lunch, this harmless lunch to, you know, so our goal is to avoid that, you know, as much as possible. So
Definitely. Address it early. Get it out of the way early. So so essentially that's our 50-minute plan on how we plan to stay together. The short answer is openly communicate consistently. How do we plan to make our marriage successful? Openly communicate consistently.
A short answer, yes.
Openly communicate consistently. That's it.
That's it.
So if you guys like this long form content, hopefully this serves you guys in your journeys as well. Hopefully this information is useful. Right.
Or we can split it up or whatever.
We're definitely going to split it up also.
If you want us to go in more depth on anything else, then let us know. And we can make a video specifically on that. Because as we see, we can talk in details about things. So we may not need as many topics next time, because we can definitely, once we get going, we can talk in detail. So we want to know what y'all want to hear. What do y'all want us to go in more detail about, we've been dating we've been together for 5 years, going on 6 years, and then we just got married, and we knew each other in high school. So this is kind of our little the short background about us. And so if you want to know more about us, want to know more about just how we keep it strong, I know we're pretty new in our relationship, but I think, we do great at communicating. So we're definitely happy to share with the world how we try to make it work for us.
Definitely. So yeah.
And we're happy to hear how y'all make it work for y'all relationships as well.
Leave feedback in the comments on what works in you guys' relationships, and we will take what we can use. Definitely. So leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe,
please,
all of that, and
peace and blessings.